West Virginia men's basketball coach Ross Hodge and his staff have been doing work in the transfer portal. They have brought in two more very talented players to Morgantown out of the portal over the weekend. We're going to talk about that in today's lunchtime live stream here on Couz's Corner. We're also going to talk about this Nico Iamaleava situation. I was out of town over the weekend, did not have a chance to comment on this, so I thought I'd give my thoughts on how everything that I know, at least what I've heard and what's been reported and what the rumors are. I want to give my thoughts on that as well. I know that's not West Virginia related, but I think it impacts all of college sports. So we're going to talk about that today as well in this live stream edition of Couz's Corner right here on YouTube and on X at Couz206. If you're watching on X, I asked that once the show's over, please come over and check out the YouTube channel, Couz's Corner. Please subscribe. You can also find the basketball content on Hoops from the Heels on YouTube as well. Real quick, before we get too far along into the content, I do have to give a shout out to one of my channel sponsors, our friends over at Katz, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner, your personal injury and medical malpractice attorneys. I will be right back. Since 1931, the attorneys at Katz, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner have been the voice for victims who have suffered serious injury or death. They have a fierce passion for truth and justice and a sincere compassion for those who have been wronged by others. Whether you have been in a car accident, are fighting with an insurance company, or you or a loved one has suffered serious injury or death due to medical negligence, we will ensure your voice is heard loud and clear. Katz, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner will ensure there is justice for all West Virginians because we are your lawyer, your voice. Visit us at yourlawyeryourvoice.com. What is up, and welcome to this live edition of Couz's Corner, your home for top-shelf college sports news and analysis around West Virginia, the Big 12, and sometimes a little conference realignment or news that impacts all of the college sports world. And today, that's what we're talking about with this Nico Iamaleava situation. And that's the first thing I want to touch on here in this show. I do want to give you a reminder, if you're watching live and you want to be part of the show, if you want to make sure your comment gets read, if you want to make sure I answer your question, you can highlight it by dropping a super chat. You hit that $sign near the chat box and highlight your comment, and I'll be sure to see it and read it on the air. I do want to thank Raven for being the first one in the chat today. She says, "Hey, Couz, looks like the ladies have some good ads as well." The ladies are killing it. Mark Kellogg and his team over there are absolutely killing it as well on the portal. Got to give them some credit. There will be some content up on my new website, WVSportsChat.com, regarding that situation as well, hopefully later today. All right, Nico Iamaleava. For those of you who might not know what's going on, maybe not have paid attention to the news the last few days or whatever, I'll give you the 30,000-foot view or the basics of this. Nico Iamaleava had an NIL deal just south of $3 million a year with Tennessee, is my understanding. I don't know the exact number. He had been asking for more money. He was wanting, reports are saying he was asking for up to $4 million a year, allegedly. He and his team, which allegedly is his dad's part of that team. But nonetheless, they wanted a $4 million a year. Tennessee was giving him just under $3 million a year. Well, as part of the negotiation process, and I guess to play hardball, Nico decided to skip practice the day before Tennessee's spring game. You know, he didn't wait till the spring game was over to enter the transfer portal. He went through the entire spring practice with his team, taking probably most of the reps. And then the day before the spring game, he decides to skip out on practice. Well, when that happened, Tennessee decided, you know what? We're not dealing with this. As Coach Josh Heupel explained in his press conference, not one individual is bigger than the power T. Nobody's bigger than the team, and he said that includes myself. So we're moving on. We have a strong program. We have a lot of other good players in this program. We're moving on. So skipping practice, at least in Tennessee's eyes, was not the right way to go about this. And it's yet to be determined what happens with Nico Iamaleava. I think somebody will probably step up, unfortunately, and pay him the money he's looking for. Now, I'll be honest with you. I think this was an absolute prick move by Nico Iamaleava, and if his dad was in charge of this and it was his decision, not a good move by the dad either. And look, helicopter parenting is an issue, and I'm a dad whose kids play some sports at the middle school level. None of my kids played high school sports. They gave it up after middle school was over. Also, some travel sports, was involved in some travel sports. And it is very easy as a parent to try to interfere in your kid and what's going on, and they're interfering in their life, control what's going on, control the narrative, all those things. It's extremely easy to do. And there were many times I had to really fight the urge to do that with my kids, right? And I understand that even as they get older, that urge doesn't necessarily go away, even if they're in college. And I could see where Nico's dad, and I don't even have an issue with a parent being part of they obviously want to be part of their decision-making team, right? The kid wants to bounce ideas off the parents will give advice, those types of things. That's what parents do. But if the dad, as has been reported and rumored by many, if the dad told the kid to skip practice, you are teaching him to leave his wingman. You are teaching him to skip out on his teammates. If he had done this the right way, and I'm not, look, the blame would not be all at the feet of the dad here, because Nico's a grown man at this point in his life. He can make decisions on his own. He does not have to do what his dad or his agent or anybody else tells him to do. For him to skip out on his team like this the day before spring practice or the spring game it was an absolute prick move, in my opinion. It's not the way to handle yourself. These guys went all through spring thinking you're going to be the starting quarterback for this football team, and you did that to them. It's not good, man. It's not the right thing to do. It would have been different if it wouldn't have even been as bad, in my opinion, if you skipped the whole spring, or if you went into the portal after spring practice. Why did you need to do that? Why did you need to skip a practice to prove your point? It was unnecessary and really a bad move, in my opinion, a bad look for Nico. Now, like I said, some team who's desperate for a quarterback and who has donors who are willing to pay the money will probably step up and pay him the $4 million that he wants, which means he will not learn his lesson. And who knows how long that'll follow him. Now, what I would love to see happen is Nico get an offer much less than what he's asked for Tennessee, even much lower than what he was getting at Tennessee. Heck, it would be cool if he didn't get to go anywhere, to be quite honest with you, or had to drop down to a lower level, FCS or something. I know that's probably not going to happen because he's too good of a player, but to skip practice like that, it's not cool, man. It's absolutely not cool. Too many of those teammates rely on these guys, their blood, their sweat, their tears. You're working side by side them every single day, getting up early in the morning doing workouts. And I understand the market may have shifted with how much some of these players are making, but let's be real here. Nico was not a $4 million quarterback. He's not. It's not like he's one of the top quarterbacks in college. Yes, he got his team to the playoff, and yes, he's a good quarterback, but he's not worth $4 million a year. You're right, Raven. Good for Tennessee. I'm actually absolutely glad Tennessee moved on. I think they made the right decision. And I would really hope that other teams out there will back Tennessee. And by backing them, I mean not step up and pay Nico the money he wants. There have been rumors out there about different teams that might be interested in his services. I've heard UCLA rumored. I've heard USC rumored, among others. Now, based on SEC rules, the SEC will not allow a player to transfer within the conference during the spring portal window. So he cannot go to another SEC school. And I actually think that's a good rule that the SEC implemented. I wish other conferences would apply the same rule, to be honest. They can do it during the winter portal window, but not the spring. So if Nico cannot go to an SEC school. So there's 15 schools off his list right off the bat that he has to cross off. So he still has many options. He still has Big 10, Big 12, and ACC schools he could go to. Notre Dame is one I've heard rumored. But again, what school wants to sign this young man who's willing to leave his team during spring practice? And I know a lot of people are going to argue, but Couz, people in the NFL do this all the time. I get it. But to me, that's a little different in NFL because you are actually officially professionals at that point. And I'll be honest, I don't even like that in the NFL. The guys who skip the voluntary workouts and who skip some practices early on, and they kind of know, you kind of know it's coming. Again, that's different. But to go through the entire spring and then skip practice, total, just a bad move, man. Total bad move. And whoever advised him to do that, terrible move. To me, it lacks ethics and integrity. I'll be honest with you. Whoever told Nico to do that, in my opinion, lacks ethics and integrity. And I hope it comes back to bite them. It probably won't. I'm sure they're still going to be fine. And I'm not wishing ill will on the young man by any means, but financially, I hope it impacts him financially a little bit. I hope it's enough for him to learn a lesson that, like, you know what, this probably wasn't the best move for me. I'm hoping that happened a little bit with Tennessee not taking him back, and he can no longer use them as leverage, so that his price may drop automatically, not having them to use as leverage. We'll see. But I just don't agree with it. I don't agree with going through practices and then all of a sudden sitting out practices. Again, I don't even like it when NFL players do that. But at least it's a little more understandable then, because they are official certified professionals with written contracts. You know what I mean? These guys don't have. Well, heck, he had and that's another thing. He had a contract with Tennessee, and he didn't even honor his contract. So it reeks of poor integrity and poor ethics, in my opinion. And it looks like most of the people in the chat agree with me. John Christophic says Nico is a punk. Silver Mark WV, it doesn't, but it's a big story in college football. And I was going to get to that, but what it can impact is you might see other players doing this down the road. If rules don't get put in place somehow, some way to curb this type of activity, this could come to a campus near you, including West Virginia. West Virginia could get impacted by this some way, somehow. They could have players do this down the road, right? If Nico's able to do this, there are going to be other players out there watching this situation to see how it works, and if it works for him. And if it does, don't be surprised if it happens again to other teams. And again, it can impact West Virginia as well. It can impact anybody. And Mark, I do cover other things. I don't cover West Virginia 100% of the time on this channel, just majority of the time. So I apologize if if this content doesn't suit what you're looking for. I will be talking about the West Virginia transfers in just a minute. But this is a very interesting story. I think majority of college sports fans are into it and interested in it. Got Mark Painter in the house. Got Civil Mark WV, Stanley Metz. We have Think About It. Did I see that? Somebody named Think About It in the house. Thank you. I had a chat from a VIP channel member here, Daniel Gigax. Thank you, Daniel. He says, who is guiding Nico and going from 100,000 in Knoxville to 25,000 in Pasadena is quite the downgrade. Yeah, definitely going to be a downgrade when you see the fan difference there, if that happens. Because Pasadena fans, they do not support their team to the same level as those passionate Tennessee fans. And that's another thing. Tennessee fans have been known at times to misbehave and act like crazy people. But you know what? West Virginia fans do too. And you won't find a more passionate fan base than the fans of the Tennessee Volunteers, man. They love their team. They're passionate about their team. They fill that stadium up 100,000 strong every single week, pretty much. And he turned his back on them too, in my opinion. Now, I understand in this day and time that players aren't probably thinking about fans too much, but they should at least be thinking about their teammates. And what he did to his teammates is just downright wrong to me. Mark Painter with a $5 super chat. Thank you, Mark, for the support. He says, don't have to read my comment, bro. If you don't, bro, I am cool either way. It's all right. I appreciate the support, man. Appreciate you supporting what I do here and helping me keep the lights on. Mark says, I never hold back, so I say NIL money has ruined college. Integrity. The thought of what money has done to loyalty is disgusting, and we are only at the tip of the dark, slippery road. Mark, you're absolutely right, and that's why I said earlier, this could be coming to a campus near you. It could impact our team, That's why I think it's an important story. But yeah, so I think, look, you also do have to lay some blame here at the NCAA's feet as well. The NCAA has created this system that has allowed this. So they're not off scot-free either here. the NCAA has allowed, because years ago they didn't put rules in place, and then they didn't enforce rules that were in place. They have created a monster. So now, and they have allowed this to happen to the point now to where anytime they get sued, they basically lose. So they're not able to enforce rules they do pass. But it's because of their negligence. They should have went to some sort of revenue sharing model or something many years ago so that players could capitalize on these huge TV contracts that these conferences are signing and these teams are getting. And their failure to do that, and even to implement name, image, and likeness years before they did it, their inability to do that and unwillingness to do that has created this system. So they're not off scot-free either. And I think some blame has to be laid on Tennessee too, and maybe their donors for allowing this to happen and for allowing Nico. I shouldn't say allowing, but I don't know. I don't even know if I can put blame on them, because I feel like they paid him a fair price based on the market. And when he asked for more, they said no, which I applaud them for. But them being willing to, pay him that much in the first place might have made him think he could get more, if that makes sense. But at the end of the day, I think the majority of the blame has to be laid at the feet of Nico and his team, whether that be his dad, his agent, whoever it is out there guiding him. To me, he's getting bad information and bad guidance from someone. But at the same time, again, he's also a grown man and can take accountability for his own actions. And I thought this was a bad move. And hopefully, there are rumors out there that his teammates wanted him gone once he skipped practice. And if that's true, I applaud his teammates for stepping up and speaking their mind on that. And Stanley Metz agrees with me that it could be the first of many if they don't get the Wild West atmosphere reined in. Richard Dirt says fans should just boycott games for 2 to 3 weeks in a row. Maybe stop it all. It might stop it, Richard, but I doubt it. And you're not going to get enough fans willing to do that, to be honest, I don't think. All right. So that's the Nico situation. Summarize, I blame Nico and I blame his entourage, his team, for skipping out on his teammates after going through spring practice. They should have done it differently. They should have waited after spring, entered the portal, and done it that way, not skipping practice. It's the wrong way to do it, Nico. It's the wrong way to do it, brother. So now let's go ahead and talk a little bit of West Virginia hoops. I'm excited to talk about West Virginia hoops. Over the weekend, while I was out of town enjoying some leisure time with family, with my wife and some friends, namely, went to a concert over the weekend. I also went to visit some family in North Carolina. But over the weekend, Ross Hodge and the staff, Cook, man, they got 2 more really good transfers out of the portal. The first one we're going to talk about is one who, they both excite me, but this one really, really excites me. You've got Honor Huff. First of all, that name might make the Mount Rushmore of names in college basketball this year. But Honor Huff from Chattanooga, transfer from Chattanooga, he was highly recruited by a lot of major programs around the country. 5'10", 168-pound guard, averaged 15.3 points a game at Chattanooga and 2.4 assists a game at Chattanooga. There's an article over at my website, WVSportsChat.com, written by Brandon Walker. It says, West Virginia picks up elite shooter from transfer portal. West Virginia University head coach Ross Hodge is already making big-time roster moves. He landed one of the best shooters in the transfer portal on Saturday in Chattanooga guard Honor Huff. The 5'10", 168-pound garnered serious interest from schools such as Iowa, Pitt, St. John's, and Vanderbilt. But ultimately, he selected the Mountaineers. The Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania product. Now, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania is where he went to high school. But he's actually originally from Brooklyn, New York. So a lot of people expected him to go to St. John's. But he really felt like, according to an interview he had recently on the Voice of Morgantown podcast, he said he really felt like he was a fit for Coach Ross Hodge, and he's really excited about what Coach Hodge wants to do and how he wants to use him, and how Coach Hodge has used smaller guards in the past. Coach Hodge has had good success with small guards in the past, like Atten Wright at North Texas, is one example of that. Like Jasper Floyd is another one. He's had success with some of those guys, and he feels like he can replicate that. But it says he led the nation with 131 three-pointers on 41.6% shooting. He averaged 15.2 points, 2.3 assists, and 1.8 rebounds for Chattanooga this past season, and he helped the Mocs win the NIT tournament. Huff started his college career at VMI in 2021, where he started 18 games and averaged 10 points per game. Then he transferred to Chattanooga after sitting out the 22-23 season. He averaged 17.1 points, 2.6 assists, and 2.7 rebounds per game while shooting 38% from behind the arc. Huff has proven that he can catch and shoot, spot up, create a shot, and get to the rim if needed. He is also an effective passer and playmaker, which WVU needs in its offense this upcoming season. Huff is the third player that the Mountaineers have picked up from the transfer portal this offseason, joining center Harlan Obioha from UNC Wilmington and power forward Brennan Lorient from North Texas. 131 three-pointers on the season. I do have another super chat I want to get to. Silver Mark WV, thanks, my man. $20 super chat. Thank you so much for generosity. It says, keeping the lights on and videos flowing. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. Really appreciate your support here. All right. I spent some time over the weekend watching some highlights of Honor Huff. Sorry, I keep wanting to say Connor for some reason. Honor Huff. I've watched some highlights, and I'm telling you, here's what impressed me the most about this young man. His ability to get off the floor quickly when he gets the ball in his hands and he's going to take a shot. He gets off the floor like that. Gets to the top of his jump shot really quickly, and that enables him to shoot over top of people. He jumps really high on his jump shot, and he's able to get off the floor quickly. That it helps him, even though he's only 5'10". If you watch some of his highlights, and I'll leave links to some of his highlights, most of them came from over at College Basketball Scouting. But if you watch his highlights, he shoots over guys much, much larger than him a lot. And he's able to do that because of his athleticism, his ability to jump off the floor and get to the top of his jump shot and able to do it quickly. He also has a very quick release. So if he doesn't need a ton of space to get his shot off because his release is so quick. But he is an absolute elite shooter. He's not a good shooter. He's not a great shooter. He is an elite shooter. Here's one stat that stuck out to me. He made 19 three-pointers, okay, deeper than 25 feet or deeper behind the line. That's like Steph Curry range, folks. He's like the Steph Curry of college, and I'm not saying he's as good as Steph Curry, obviously, but as far as his shooting range, he has that type of range at the college level. Unbelievable range. All right. Now, he shot 100 and he made 131 threes out of over 300 attempts. So even attempting over 300 shots, he still shot the ball 42.6% from three-point range. That is elite, especially shooting that many shots. And then some other stats, 32% of his field goal attempts are from behind the three-point line or from the left side or on the left side of the key. And he shoots 44% from that spot. 28% of his attempts are from the right side of the key, or I wanted to call it the left wing, but it's not really the full wing. It's if you stand at the top of the key behind the three-point line and take a couple steps to your right, that's the right side. He shoots 41% from that spot. Again, I mentioned his release. He's among the 91st percentile in the country in catch and shoot threes with a 62% effective field goal percentage on catch and shoot threes. He's not in the 97th percentile in the country. 97th percentile. Top 3% in the country in offense and off the dribble threes, or off the dribble shooting, rather, and most of those are threes. 97th percentile shooting off the dribble with a 67% effective field goal percentage. That is elite, folks. So he's elite at catching and shooting. He's also elite at shooting it off the dribble. Okay? And then he's among the top 81 percentile in the country in scoring off ball screens. When he has the ball in his hands, they set a screen for him. He comes off that screen. Like I said, he doesn't need a ton of space. So if you don't stay with him on those ball screens, he will kill you. He will burn you and burn his opponents. So he's elite coming off screens. He's elite catch and shoot, and he's also elite creating his own shot off the dribble. And about 60% of his shots are behind the three-point line. Now, he can get to the rim if he needs to. He is athletic and quick enough to get to the rim, but he really, really makes his payday, so to speak, earns his pay, whatever you want to call it, from behind the three-point line. And that is something West Virginia really desperately needs. You know, they went out and got that big center in Obi Oha at first from UNC Wilmington, the 7 foot, 280-pound big man. Then they got the long, lengthy forward who's athletic and can play above the rim from North Texas. Then they go out and get a small guard who can shoot it at an elite level. So you can kind of watch the puzzle pieces that Ross Hodge are putting together for this team, and it makes a lot of sense, right? He just continues to find the right guys, the right puzzle pieces. And I think the way he's building this roster is really good. It's really good. But I'm extremely high on Honor Huff. I think he has a chance to be one of the top guards in the Big 12. And I'm super, super excited about what he brings to the table. I mean, you just go watch his highlights. Again, you will be impressed with his quick release. You will be impressed with his ability to get off the floor and get to the top of his jump shot. Just so many things this guy's good at. Now, defensively, none of his highlights showed what he did on the defensive end, at least not the ones I watched. But we all know the emphasis that Coach Hodge puts on defense, so you have to assume that this young man can guard, and he also averaged just under a steal a game. So he does get some steals as well. And he averaged over 2 assists a game, or right at 2 assists a game too. So he can make plays. You know, if he's not shooting the ball, he can still make plays with the ball in his hands by getting his teammates involved too. So he's not just a pure shooter, or not just a shooter. Big Dan T with a $9.99 super chat says, hot off the press, Couz. Says Huff is better than Curry. LOL. Not quite. That would be a hot take, wouldn't it? You're going to get me in trouble, Dan. You're going to have all kinds of people coming at me. But I have heard other people make that comment that, you know, he shoots Steph Curry like range. Now, there's nobody that can shoot it like Steph Curry. Nobody in the world. So, I'll never compare him as apples to apples, but he does have long distance range like Steph Curry does. Appalachia Africa Twin, thanks, brother. He says, keeping your shot glass full with top shelf bourbon. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. It's funny. I was visiting with my brother-in-law over the weekend, and he and I were kind of talking about bourbon a little bit, and he's starting to get into some bourbon tasting. So, interesting that you brought that up. We were talking about different bourbons. We were talking about Angel's Envy and Four Roses, and he had he had one called Nulu that I tried. It was not bad. But anyway, I don't want to get off on a tangent on a side conversation, but nonetheless, thank you for the super chat, brother. I appreciate the support. Daniel Gigax says, Curry's bad day is 99% better than most players' good day, but I am blessed. I am biased where I went to a lot of Dubs games in Oakland. Okay, makes sense. Dubs meaning Warriors games. I appreciate that comment. Yeah, I've never been able to see Curry play. I would love to, though. He's definitely one of the elite players of all time. Civil Mark, West Virginia says he wants to see a 3 from the Eastern Panhandle on floor. It's very possible. I wouldn't rule it out. Denny Allen says, my personal everyday drinker is Basil Hayden, but I could get on a bourbon tangent for hours and cigars. LOL. Yeah, we were talking about that too. He was talking about how he likes a good cigar with his bourbon. So, Denny, you might be onto something there, man. All right. Let's go ahead and talk about the next pickup from the portal for West Virginia basketball. And his name, Jackson Fields from Troy. 6'8", 210-pound forward, averaged 7.9 points and 4.8 rebounds a game for the Troy Trojans. Now, you know, he doesn't put up the highlight reel plays that Honor Huff's going to put up. You know, he can shoot it from 3, but I think he only attempted about 63 a game, or 63 for the whole season. He can shoot it from three, but it's not really his biggest strength, in my opinion. Jackson Fields has length. Now you'll see that's a common thing pretty much, right? With the exception of Honor Huff, who's an elite shooter. Almost everybody, or so far everybody that Coach Hodge has bought in, has their length, right? Obioha's lengthy. Brennan Lorient's lengthy, and now Jackson Fields is lengthy. Even the freshman that they brought in, the high school young man that committed, his name totally left me, but even he has length, right? So he likes length. He likes guys that can guard. Jackson Fields can guard. He's a really good shot blocker. He can go up and block shots. I like the way he controls his body when he goes up to block shots. Again, watch some of his highlights over at College Basketball Scout on YouTube. He has good body control when he can go straight up in the air to block shots. He's not always swiping at the ball. He can go up and, he's not Sags Kanate good. He's not on a Sags Kanate level, but he does have the ability to go up and have good body control and take the ball out of the air, or just, block it straight on. He's not necessarily always trying to swat it out of the gym, right? Because, as you know, if you go up and just block it, sometimes you have a greater chance of getting possession of the ball after you block it if you don't swat it in the bleachers and give them the ball back, right? So he has that ability. And he's a smart player, knows how to use his body like that and go straight up instead of leaning in. Because if you go up and lean in at all, it's automatically a foul most of the time. He doesn't always do that. So he has good body control. He can guard. When you look at his offensive game, he's good on the offensive end too. Yes, he averaged 7.9 points. So he's not going to he's not going to go out and give you 20 a night, but he has a capability of giving you a very solid night. He had several double-digit scoring games on the season. So he's going to go out and give you 8 points, 5 rebounds a game. That's a very solid basketball player. If he can, especially if he can replicate that type of production in the Big 12, that's good production. But he's going to give you a player who really does it just about everything, right? Now, he's not going to, like I said, he doesn't shoot a ton of threes, but he takes good shots from three. If he's open and he'll take a shot and he can make it. I mean, his 3-point percentage, I think he shot it like 33% from three, which is not bad. Not bad at all. But he's not going to take, he doesn't take a lot of bad shots. He's going to take good open shots, and he can make them. 64% of his shots were attempted around the rim, and he's a 57% field goal shooter. So most of his damage is done around the rim. He's very good, very, very good at coming off pick and rolls. He'll come out. I'll tell you, I'm really excited to watch him and Honor Huff together in the pick and roll game, because Jackson Fields can come out, set that screen for Huff. And if Huff can come off that screen, and you've got a guy like Fields who is really good at rolling to the basket and getting the ball and getting it to the rim, and then you've got a guy like Huff who they have to honor him and his shooting ability. So who are you going to guard in that situation, right? It's going to create some mismatches, in my opinion. So you're going to have some situations where you're going to have to choose. Do I let Fields get the ball inside, or do I take a chance and let Honor Huff shoot it from three? Most of the time, they're going to try to guard Huff tightly. Does that open up the opportunity for him to get the ball in the Fields as he's rolling to the basket from that pick and roll play? I really like it. And then, heck, you could even throw a little wrench into it and do a pick and pop for Fields, right? He could set a pick and then pop out, because Huff fake it, throw it over to Fields for a three. Because Fields, again, he's not going to shoot a ton of them, but he will shoot about 2 threes a game, ballpark, something like that. So he can shoot it. Where Honor Huff shooting over 8 threes a game, right? It's a totally different ball, totally different styles of play. But you're not bringing Fields in to shoot threes. You're bringing him in to rebound. He's also a good rebounder. You're bringing him in to get offensive rebounds, to rebound, to be disruptive with his length on the defensive end, and to score the ball around the rim. He's very athletic. Again, can do, he made a couple circus shots in the highlights I watched. He can make, he's hard to guard around the rim, so he can make plays around the rim. I mentioned the pick and roll game. He's just a good overall player. It doesn't look like he's really bad at anything. You know what I mean? Now, he's not going to be bringing the ball up as a point guard, but he can score it around the rim. He can shoot threes if he's open. He can play defense. He's a willing passer. So he's just a good Will he be a starter for this West Virginia team? I don't know. I think he has the opportunity to be. But even if he's not, he's a very, very good depth piece that will get minutes and should be able to contribute for this team in 2025, 26. So I'm very excited about this young man. But again, you got Honor Huff, who's an elite shooter. You've got a big 7 foot, 280-pound big in Obioha. You've got the lengthy forward who can jump out of the gym in Brendan Lorient. Now you've got another athletic forward in Jackson Fields who can do a good job cleaning up the offensive glass and scoring around the basket. I mean, the puzzle pieces are fitting together nicely for Coach Hodge and this team. I really, really like how they're putting together the roster. They're finding guys who not only can play defense, but who can shoot, and guys who can score in the paint, and guys who are not going to get pushed around in the paint on the defensive end. That's what I like most about Obioha. I got tired of seeing West Virginia players get bullied in the paint, and it wasn't always because they weren't trying. It was just because the player they were guarding were so much bigger than stronger than they were. You know, you're not going to get that with Obioha. So I just really love the puzzle pieces that are being put together by Coach Hodge and this staff. I want to take this opportunity to give a quick shout out. My lips itching there, man. Got to take this opportunity to give a shout out to my other sponsor, the fine folks over at Appalachia Digital. If you're looking for someone to build you a brand new website, they can do it. If you're looking for someone to help you get found on Google and you already have a website, they can do that too. Go check them out at appalachiadigital.com/Couz. Let them know I sent you, and they will help you out. They designed my brand new site called WVSportsChat.com. They did an excellent job. They're continuing to work on it. We're making tweaks as we go, but they've done a fantastic job building that site, and I'm really excited what the future holds there. We already have a lot of blog articles going up over there, so go check it out, WVSportsChat.com, and go check out Appalachia Digital, the fine folks who designed it for us. All right. Let's go ahead and get into the comment section, see what all we got here. Denny Allen, who's a VIP member. Javon was a Power 4 transfer. Like I said, I didn't mean to come across disappointed because I am not, just curious. Let me see what Denny had to say earlier. I don't want this to sound negative, as I don't mean it this way. Does it not make you think a bit not seeing any Power 4 transfers, at least yet? But I do really like the additions thus far. It does, Denny. It's hard not to think that as a fan. I mean, I catch myself thinking that sometimes too. But what I try to do is, you look at the other schools that have offered some of these guys. And in the case of Honor Huff, you've got schools like Pitt, Iowa State, I think was one of them. Let me look at the list again. Pitt, Iowa, not Iowa State, but Iowa. You've got Iowa. So he passed on the guy who just took the Iowa job, Ben McCollum. St. John's, who's right in his hometown of Brooklyn, New York, right? He could have went and played for Rick Pitino at St. John's. Instead, he came to West Virginia to play for Ross Hodge. That excites me. And then, of course, Vanderbilt, who's, Mark Byington has that program actually playing pretty good basketball right now in the SEC. So I agree with you. Now, if we get through an entire portal class and we don't have one Power 4 transfer, then I might get a little bit concerned. But right now I'm not, because I like the guys he's adding and I think they're good fits. But it's a fair question to ask, no doubt about it. Daniel Gigax says, is Press Virginia back? I don't think so, Daniel. I'm not sure. I think Ross Hodge will press occasionally, but I don't, it's not necessarily his staple. He just plays really, really good half-court defense, kind of like Darren DeVries did, right? He's going to have a similar style. He wants to build West Virginia's program similar to what Houston is like. I think that's the model he's going for. Somebody, they're always in your grill. They're always in your face. Nothing's ever going to be easy. They're going to make you work hard for every single basket. That's what he's going for, in my opinion. We got Jim Pearson in the house. We have Mike 55 in the house. Wilson 03. Wilson 03 says Florida's championship team was mainly group of 5 transfers and 3 and 4-star recruits. Thank you for that comment, Wilson. That's good to know. I did not, I'll be honest with you, I did not know a whole lot about Florida basketball before I watched them in the national championship game, man. So I didn't know a lot about their roster and how it was put together. So I appreciate that info. No problem, Denny. No problem at all. Raven says, thank the Lord we have more than big guys for down low. More than big guys for down low. All I've been asking for. Hey, Raven, you are absolutely right. You have been consistent asking for that on almost every show. I appreciate that. And you're getting what you asked for, at least so far. Stanley Met says, late to the party and early to leave, but I'm going to hit that thumbs up on my way out. Y'all don't forget to hit it. Thank you, Stanley. I appreciate the support. Yeah, everybody, if you can't support my show financially, that's perfectly fine. You can support me by hitting the thumbs up button. It really helps out YouTube out. Even if you're watching the replay, the thumbs up really helps the algorithm. It gets my show out to more people, helps people find Couz's Corner. And then also subscriptions. If you're not subscribed to the channel yet, please do that today. Couz's Corner. I try to serve up as much top shelf college sports content as possible, primarily around West Virginia, but I do also talk Big 12 and occasionally national storylines, especially if it relates to the realignment. And like today, the situation with Nico Iamaleava. I'm not even going to try to say it again. Nico from Tennessee. The situation with him and his NIL controversy. Daniel Gigex says, my sister-in-law is a Florida grad. It's been a full season of Gator propaganda. It's going to be a full off season of it too, brother. I feel for you. No worries, Raven. I knew what you meant. Linda Skidmore in the house says Hodge plays a lot of players. He does. WVU Mountaineer, Larry with Kenny, thank you for joining in, sir. He says Power 4 transfers can lay eggs as well as a group of 5 player. Will have more to prove and more hunger. That's a fair point. When I was watching Honor's interview on the Voice of Morgantown podcast, he said that he's always had that chip on his shoulder because he's always been undersized, and everywhere at every level he's played at, people have told him he's undersized. He can't play at the next level, yada yada. He had didn't have a ton of schools recruiting him out of high school, so he ended up going to VMI, and then he followed VMI's coach to Chattanooga. So he said he's always had that chip on his shoulder, and he's always out to prove people wrong, and he said he's going to continue that at West Virginia. See. Kevin Varney's in the house. His fellow Mercer County guy here. What's up, Kevin? W. Mountaineer with Kenny said he heard Sacramento State coming to the Big 12. I saw that title on a video. I haven't watched the video yet. It looks a little clickbaitish to me. Not going to lie, but maybe it's not. I don't know. I may go check it out later just to see what they had to say. But I don't think Sacramento State's coming to the Big 12. But anything's possible in today's world, right? Fields may get Connerway. That would be great. Yes, Connerway I think he was the best player at Troy this year, if I'm not mistaken, and he is also in the transfer portal. That would be awesome if he can lure Connerway or help lure Connerway to Morgantown. And then Honor Huff said he was going to try to do some recruiting of his own too. So, side note, Raven says she's glad that Paige Beckers from UConn won the national championship. Congrats to UConn and that women's team for winning the national championship. And somebody had mentioned earlier about West Virginia's women's team and the noise they're making in the portal. They just flipped, and I don't have her name in front of me, but they flipped in Auburn. There was a transfer portal. I think she's a forward. She's 6'1". She was in the transfer portal, and she had verbally committed to Auburn. Within like a day or two, she flipped her commitment to Mark Kellogg in West Virginia. She's a double-digit scorer. She's a forward who can play down low in the paint. She won't get pushed around a ton. She adds more depth in that front court for Coach Kellogg. Because, these Big 12 teams, man, on the women's side are big. They have some – TCU, for example, they could probably play with a lot of men's teams. They're so big. You need size in the Big 12, and Mark Kellogg's addressing that in the portal. Appalachia Africa Twin says, have a wonderful afternoon all. Going to enjoy the sunny, warm weather and take a bike ride. Enjoy your day, sir. Have a good one. I'm going to have to get out and mow some grass later in this warm weather before it gets too late. Drumwolf says, got to have at least 3 centers. Raven, I'm not sure what's going on with Jaden Stone. He's still listed officially on the roster. not sure what his status is. Don't know anything about the young man. It's pretty much been radio silent out of his camp. I haven't seen any rumors or anything on him lately. So if anybody else has heard anything, feel free to drop it in the chat. Denny says he thinks Huff is trying to get the Shea kid to Morgantown. Yeah, I saw that as well. I think he's from UC Irvine, maybe, which is the team Chattanooga played in the NIT championship. What's up, Alan Tran? Appreciate you joining the show, brother. A resident Baylor fan here. Thank you, Alan, for jumping in, my man. Daniel Gigax says it was an AMA with Dr. Wood from last week. He said the stretch goals was the Big 12 for Sac State. I'm dubious on the entire FBS plan Sac State has. An AMA. I don't know what that stands for. I'm ignorant when it comes to acronyms sometimes. Interesting. That is their stretch goal. Okay. Thanks for sharing that, Daniel. Yeah, I'm not super confident it'll happen. I mean, they're having to go from FCS to the Big 12. That's a huge jump, man. Raven says we've picked up Kiara Wheeler, Logan Johnson. Thank you for these names. These are the women, the players the women's team has picked up so far in the portal. Kiara Wheeler, she's the one from that flipped from Auburn, I believe. Logan Johnson, Riley Mikulowski, and Carter McRae. Carter McRae, I think, is a transfer from Wisconsin, if I'm not mistaken. So she's a Power 4 transfer. Wheeler, as I said, was planning to transfer to Auburn. She flipped to West Virginia. Johnson's coming over from Texas Tech. And then Riley Mikulowski is – Raven, you'll have to correct me here. I can't remember what school she's coming from off the top of my head. Butler. She's coming from Butler. There we go. So 4 really good players that Coach Mark Kellogg has been able to get so far, and I'm pretty sure he's not done yet. WV Mountaineer with Kenny says to have Stone and Huff on same roster would be great. It absolutely would. Daniel Gigax says, ask me anything on Reddit. Having Huff and Stone on the same roster would be awesome if Huff continues to hang around. Wheeler's a hot get. She's a beast. Yeah, I need to go watch some highlights. I haven't done that yet. She definitely – I was kind of taken aback by her announcement on X. It showed dollar bills falling around her like she's making it rain. So it makes me – it's pretty much like saying, hey, West Virginia's giving me a bag to come here. But you know what? I'm happy that West Virginia is able to do that and compete with some of these larger programs in NIL, especially on the women's side. They've been given some very generous donations on the women's side of basketball, I'll tell you that. I think they had one anonymous donor that donated like $2.5 million. I don't know if it was for NIL necessarily, but just to the program as a whole. They had someone donate like $2.5 million. So they have some very, very loyal donors on the women's side for sure. Wheeler reminds me of Jordan Thomas. She's a little more athletic. Yeah, Jordan Thomas is the one I was thinking. And Jordan Thomas, if I'm not mistaken, Raven, is only a freshman. So she has a very bright future. You have her there, and you have someone like Wheeler there as well. Wheeler has more experience, so she'll probably get the start or get the nod over Thomas. And heck, maybe they both play at the same time. You know, it'll be interesting to see how he blends them in the lineup. But yeah, I really like Jordan Thomas's game. She had some really nice games this year for the West Virginia women, and Wheeler's a great addition to that in that front court. Gives them some nice size down there. Silva Mark W. I always feel bad as someone who's married and has 3 daughters. I always feel guilty using the words big, size, or anything like that with a female athlete. But I guess to be honest, it kind of applies here because they need size down low. Texas Tech NIL is definitely insane, Alan. They're definitely up in the game. Them and BYU both in the Big 12 are really up in the game in NIL right now. And I guess you got to throw Colorado in the mix too. Stone and Huff sounds like something that would happen in a college town. You got that right, Mark. All right, listen, I've been on here for about 50 minutes. I am actually working today. I decided to use my 1 hour lunch break and come on here and do a show for you guys. Try to get some content out of that since I hadn't done anything in a couple of days. My last video on here was a little less serious. It was about a potential curse of a goat that may be plaguing West Virginia sports. It was all in fun. I recommend you go check it out. You might find it entertaining and hopefully also a little informative, because it is based on a true story, by the way. But I'll leave a link to that here at the end of this one, or at least maybe in the comments. I'll pin it in the comments. But I appreciate you guys hopping on here today for this midday live show. I appreciate it. If you're watching this on the replay or live, either one, please be sure to hit the thumbs up button. Please subscribe if you haven't. Make sure your notifications are turned on to be notified of future videos and live streams. Don't forget about the Hoops from the Hills channel, where we put all of our basketball content if you want to focus just on basketball. But in the meantime, I'll be putting all content here on Couz's Corner. Don't forget WVSportsChat.com. Don't forget my merch store. Don't forget to check out my sponsors, Cats, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner, for if you need a medical injury or or personal injury or medical malpractice attorney. Give them a call at 1-800-304-999-HURT. And don't forget AppalachiaDigital.com/Couz if you need a new website or to get yours found on Google. I appreciate everybody's tuning in. Appreciate your support. Have a top shelf day. Oh, I got to give a quick VIP member shout out. Man, my allergies bothering me today. Keep itching. VIP member shout-outs of today are Houston Cougars Germany, Denny Allen, Tom Dean, Shaggy of WV. Thank you all for your support. Thanks for tuning into the show. God bless. Hope the rest of your day's top shelf and Q Country Roads.